Hey guys, this is Backlog Gaming here, and with a new series to basically, I cover a specific genre of game that I am fond of. Today's video is going to be tower defense, so without further ado, let's get started. So what is a tower defense? What is the gameplay aspect of tower defense? What's some of the past history of it, and what's some of the controversies of it, and the reason why I like it. We're going to cover all that in this video, but first we're going to start with the gameplay. What exactly is a tower defense game? A tower defense game is one of two different ways. There's going to be two different types. There's one type to where the enemy has a free-flowing path, and you as a player are going to plot individual defenses to basically clear an enemy. Basically creating your own maze is how to look at it. The other type is going to be that there's preset mazes which the enemies are going to travel. Then you have a grid system where you can place your defenses. So the first one, we'll focus on that first because it's going to be the most interesting. When you have your own grid to where you can place units and you basically can direct the enemy into turns, into directions that you want them to go. As long as they have a free-flowing path, you're able to do this. Now, the key point of this whole thing is to basically kill all the enemies before they either reach the said point on the map. So whether that be them going all the way through, gathering something and coming all the way back, or them just passing through the map. That's going to be the goal. They're going from point A to point B, and you're trying to kill them in between. So, how do you do this? Well, you as a player, you're in charge of placing said defenses. So, some games this may be like an archer or a mage. In other games, this could be anything from a tower that maybe is a machine gun or a flamethrower or a cannon. So, the most common ones that I normally see in most tower defense games is you're going to have your ranged attack that's pretty quick. So you're going to have like your assault rifle, or you're going to have like somebody like an archer or something like that, to where you have those. Then you're going to have a damage over time type mob. So you're going to have something that you can select, that type of defense that's going to be damage over time. Then you're going to also have somebody that slows. That's another common one. Then you're going to have some things that are better at like hitting multiple targets, like as an AoE or a cone effect, or a different one that's going to be, you know, single target high damage and kind of be a slower attack rate. So as you're placing these throughout the map and directing these enemies, basically you're using the strategy aspect. Now, tower defense is a subgenre to the strategy genre. So when this first started, it was started with Atari back in the 1990s. Then from there went into being map mods for places, things like Age of Empires 2. We also seen it in Starcraft, and we also seen it in Warcraft 3. Now, I never played any of those. Later after that, right around in 2007, the start of 2007, we started to see people using Adobe Flash in order to make these games on web browsers. So you were able to play them on the internet. Then from there, likely it developed into PCs 6 months later, to where you were actually getting the physical game on your hard drive. You can boot it up, load it up like an exact game, and go ahead and play it. So it wasn't until 2008 to where we seen it start migrating not only from PC but also onto consoles like PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. Now, the Xbox 360 is what I used to play before the PlayStation 3, and that's where I got introduced into this genre with a little game called Crystal Defenders. Now, recently this was developed by Square Enix, and I finally got to that point and experienced it. It's something I played a lot of hours into. I played it constantly and sunk a lot of time into it, but I really thought it was the only game of its type, so I didn't really look for any others. Now, later on, we started seeing them come out on handhelds, and then even later than that, the mobile market, like the Android, the Google Play Store, and the iOS. So we have those. Those were all there. Also, lately I've gotten into Steam, so I started seeing more tower defense games on Steam. So it's kind of started to pick up pace. Again, it started in the 1990s, but it really didn't pick up pace until about 2007, 2008. The controversy, and I got to get the name, USPTO. This company went ahead and trademarked tower defense. Now, they trademarked it back in 2008, but they didn't actually start to enforce it until 2010. Now, what they trademarked was the capitalization of the T in tower and the D in defense. So developers can still use tower defense, those two words combined, but they have to be in lowercase. Otherwise, they're prompted, with a cease and desist order by this company. Why this company trademarked it, I don't know, and why they let it go through, again, I don't know. A lot of my friends ask me, why are you such a fan of this genre? Like, what draws you to this genre? Like, every game's the same pretty much to them. And my answer to that is pretty easy. When I was a child, I played a lot of Starcraft, but my whole goal of Starcraft wasn't to annihilate and kill my enemies. My main point of Starcraft was to build the ultimate defense that the computer could not penetrate and kill me. That's what I liked doing. So if that was stacking the odds, I remember you could have like up to like 6 or 8 people on the map. If it was like me versus all of them, I didn't care. Like, I was gonna build a defense, I would have stand an assault from 1 player up to another 7. So that's where I got hooked on it. I didn't know that there was a genre. I just knew that this was something I enjoyed doing. This is something that I liked to do. So from there, when I was on the Xbox 360 and I finally experienced Crystal Defenders, it wasn't until way later that I picked it up on PlayStation, and I was like, oh, I totally forgot about this game. I should definitely go and look for other games. Now, since then, I've gotten into PC. So there's 3 games I want to talk about on PC that are tower defense games that are not the same. Now, the first one is going to be Dungeon Defenders. This was really, really, really popular. So it wasn't only on PC, but it was also on consoles. It had a lot of DLC, but it had multiple ways that you could approach the situation and attack these enemies. Now, my initial playthrough of this, I played as the mage. Now, the mage could summon defense towers and barricades and also use attacks, but this was all in the third-person sense. So you would have this, but there would be other characters like the warrior and that or the paladin, whatever you want to call it, that would use like hack and slash, and like the monk would use punching attacks. So there's different ways of playing it, but essentially it's the same. It's a tower defense game, but you may not be placing your defenses, you may not be placing your towers, but you actually might be a defense yourself. So that's the first one. That was probably the one I played the most of. The second one that I want to talk about is going to be Defense Grid 2. Now, I recently just started playing Defense Grid 2, and it amazes me that it's free-flowing, but I'm able to place things where I want and upgrade them. Now, the level design on this is what has me amazed. So, the level design itself is very, very artistic, very, very space-like, because you're going to different planets and plotting your turrets and everything down to where you're attacking aliens and defending off invasions. So this one's different as it's an asymmetric view, and you see the battlefield down below, and you're placing your defenses and you're guiding the enemy through. Now, the third one I want to talk about is Sanctum 2. Now, there's Sanctum 1 and Sanctum 2. Either of them I recommend, but we'll focus on Sanctum 2 because that's the newest one. This one, you plot, you make your own maze, so you direct the enemy the way you want them to go. But you are also picking a person that's in the first-person aspect to where you can shoot a gun. So it's a first-person shooter tower defense game. Strategy involved. So not only are you placing things, but it's in the first-person aspect to where you can go out and attack stuff yourself. So as you can see, there's 3 different games that are 3 different complete types. If you count Crystal Defenders being a different type, they're not all the same. They all have the same attributes, I would say. That's what classifies them underneath the genre of tower defense. But to say that the games are actually the same is kind of ignorant. So from there, the best way to explain it is let me show you. And I'll show them gameplay footage of 3 different games that are completely different, but yet they're in the same genre. And that's what's amazing, guys. That's why I like playing them. It's simple, it's easy, it's fun, it's challenging. And that's what I like out of games. Anyways, guys, that's it for this episode. I'll see you next week with a new one, and we'll go from there. And I'll see you guys next time.